Deep in the shadows of folklore and legend, where the lines between the living and the dead blur, exists a creature as alluring as it is fearsome, the Brookxa. Whispered about in Portuguese lore, these creatures of the dark are far more than your typical blood drinker. They're shape-shifting entities of extraordinary power wrapped in mystery and danger. Hello, Marvelous fans, and welcome back to another exploration video brought to you by yours truly. Today, we're going to unravel the secrets of Brookxa, their origins, powers, and the tales that have kept them alive in the imagination of so many. So grab your garlic, hit the subscribe button, and join us as we venture into the dark and captivating world of one of folklore's most powerful vampires. Are you ready to meet the Brookxa? Who are the Brookxa and what are their origins? The folklore surrounding the Brookxa is deeply rooted in the linguistic and cultural heritage of Portugal. The term Brookxa translates to witch or magic user in English, hinting at its dual nature, which is both enchanting and sinister. The term actually stems from the Proto-Celtic Brookxa, meaning spell or incantation. According to legend, a Brookxa begins her journey as a mortal woman, often one with an uncanny knack for the supernatural. Through the power of witchcraft, she transcends mortality, becoming a creature of the night. They have powers straight out of a witch's handbook and a vampire's thirst for life and blood, making her, well, folklore's own femme fatale. What makes them even more chilling is probably their shape-shifting abilities. They transform into birds and bats, blending into the shadows while they hunt. Equal parts enchanting and terrifying, wouldn't you say? What is the Brookxa's true form, appearance, and behavior? The Brookxa is a creature of contrast. Though it roughly translates to witch, she's closer to a vampire in nature, with ethereal beauty, nocturnal habits, and shape-shifting powers packed into one hauntingly alluring package. In her true form, the Brookxa appears as a tall, slender woman with alabaster white skin, reminiscent of otherworldly beings like the Rusalkas of Slavic mythology. Textured details can be visible in her pale, wrinkled, almost transparent skin, and so are blood vessels. Her hair, varying in color, flows like a dark river, complementing her scant white garments, hinting at purity and peril. As an unholy creature, folklore even casts her as a lover of the devil, adding an edge of forbidden seduction to her mystique. The chances of encountering a Brookxa are most palpable at night. Northern Portuguese legends claim they are commonly found lurking just out of sight, their laughter and clapping echoing throughout the darkness. Often, they take the form of a waterfowl, and the sound of flapping wings is said to signal their passage. As creatures of air and water, Brookxa are equally at home gliding through the skies or swimming in rivers and streams. Sailors and fishermen tell chilling tales of encountering Brookxa singing on the white crests of waves similar to those of sirens. Their voices are as hauntingly beautiful, yet less lethal than the sirens of myth. Even so, crossing paths with them is never wise. Their connection to the elements of water and air reflects their fluid, untouchable nature. In every aspect, the Brookxa embodies duality, beauty and danger, grace and menace. If you ever hear laughter by a riverbank or the rush of unseen wings overhead, take heed, or it may just be a Brookxa watching from the shadows. Who are the typical victims of the Brookxa, and how do they attack? When it comes to nocturnal terror, few creatures rival the Brookxa. Worry not though, because they have a preference for certain victims. They don't really feast on just anyone. The Brookxa's favorite prey is as shocking as their methods. Infants top their menu, a choice tied to vulnerability and purity. Legends say they can slip into households through the tiniest cracks, a fear accompanied through remarkable shape-shifting abilities. Once inside, they cast a drowsiness spell over the occupants, ensuring no interruptions and no witnesses. Their attack on the child is brutal yet calculated. They use their body weight to smother the infant before drinking its blood. Sometimes they leave behind pinches, scratches, or bite marks, kind of like an artist signing their painting in the end. The Brookxa are also known to assault grown victims in their sleep, causing a suffocating sensation as they press down on their chest. Some stories even describe their attacks as sexual, likening them to succubi. Their supernatural arsenal doesn't stop there. In the Witcher series, the Brookxa possess a terrifying sonic scream that can disorient and knock down their prey. This ability is as much a psychological weapon as a physical one, freezing their victims with fear before they close in. They also tend to hunt in packs. Even more alarming is probably their power of invisibility. In battle, they can vanish at will, darting around with incredible speed to confuse their opponent. This makes them unpredictable and nearly impossible to pin down. Armed with sharp claws and unmatched strength, they attack relentlessly from all directions, breaking through defenses with ease. Their strategy is simple: weaken their prey with quick strikes, then move in for the kill through a blood-draining bite. Their agility and cunning make them creatures nobody wants to face. Hell, they even gave Geralt a run for his money. His usual precision and accuracy, that stood no chance against these she-devils. How can one protect themselves from Brookxa? These vampiric beings may seem unstoppable, but we have centuries worth of folklore that has armed us with creative and effective ways to ward them off. Truth be told, the arsenal against them is as diverse as it is fascinating. Let's start with a classic weapon against vampires in general, garlic. It's perhaps the most well-known weapon in the fight against Brookxa. While it doesn't cause them to flee in terror, they find its smell distinctly unpleasant, akin to encountering an unwelcoming atmosphere, and that's more than enough, isn't it? Hanging garlic around windows and doorways serves as a deterrent, discouraging them from slipping through the cracks in search of prey. It might make your baby stink, but it's better than death. Symbols of power also play a significant role in protection. The sign of the cross, a universal symbol of faith, is known to repel them, particularly when crafted from iron. The seal of Solomon, another protective emblem, is also often etched onto buildings and boats. In Portuguese folklore, metal, particularly iron, is considered to be another powerful defense. Simple objects like scissors, especially when configured into the shape of a cross, are used as talismans. On May Day, when Brookxa are thought to be the most active, households often nail iron horseshoes with an uneven number of holes to their doors, a symbolic act of defiance. Another fascinating method involves bread, an everyday staple that, in many European traditions, is believed to ward off evil. Apparently, simply touching bread is said to offer a shield against them. You know how the saying goes, right? An apple a day keeps a doctor away, and a bread a day keeps the Brookxa at bay. Just kidding, we just came up with that. But anyways, sprigs of broom are also used to adorn carts, plows, and ox yokes, while red woolen threads are tied around the necks of people and animals to keep them safe as well. What are the unique abilities and powers of the Brookxa? We've talked about a few of their defining abilities and powers earlier, and we've also explored how to defend ourselves against them. Well, we can't fight them without knowing more about the Witcher side of these wondrous creatures now, can we? So let's get into it. Brookxa are intruders that disguise themselves as alluring women, but what their beauty conceals is a terrifying hunger. They are queens of confusion and destruction, and in the Witcher lore, they have way more supernatural powers than in the Portuguese folklore. Let's begin with their agility, which, in one word, is simply otherworldly. In combat, Brookxa dart around at incredible speed, making it nearly impossible to land a hit. They exploit their invisibility to disorient opponents, often striking from behind or with a flurry of clawed blows that shred through any defense. Their attacks are relentless, their sharp talons capable of bypassing even a seasoned Witcher's guard. Combined with their invisibility, they transform fights into dizzying games of cat and mouse, where the hunter often becomes the hunted. Perhaps their most devastating tool is their sonic scream. This unearthly wail generates shockwaves strong enough to knock even the largest foe off their feet, rendering them vulnerable. The only reliable defense against this attack is the Quen sign, a magical shield that can mitigate its effects. However, even Quen isn't foolproof, as the sheer power of the scream can sometimes break through its defenses, leaving the victim reeling. But unlike many traditional vampires, Brookxa are immune to conventional weaknesses such as sunlight. They share this trait with other powerful vampire species like Alps and higher vampires who can roam freely during the daylight. While Alps are also known for their agility and stealth, they lack the sonic scream that set Brookxa apart. They can also disguise themselves as big black bats, and they can communicate through telepathy. Not only that, they have the ability to control people by turning their dreams into frightful nightmares. Brookxa are also adept at countering Witcher's typical tricks. Their control over their own blood circulation renders them almost immune to bleeding effects caused by special oils and poisons. While they can be injured by fire or knocked down in battle, finishing them off requires quick reflexes and a strategic approach, as they recover swiftly from setbacks. Not to mention, in comparison to their vampiric cousins, Brookxa are considerably more predatory and animalistic and are driven by hunger and instinct. They often fight in packs, overwhelming their prey through coordinated attacks. Where are Brookxa typically found? We all know by now that Brookxa are creatures of the night and that they are drawn to solitude and mystery. Well, their choice of habit reflects just this. They prefer places far from human activity and dwell in locations with creepy abandoned aura, such as ruins, caves, grottos, and so on. These vampires are particularly fond of areas that offer both concealment and strategic vantage points to hunt from. Elven ruins, with their hauntingly beautiful and labyrinthine structure, often house Brookxa. Crypts, such as the Raven's Crypt or the Crypt of Mages, Cages and Loch Moyne are another favored locale. These sites provide a natural defense against intruders while serving as the perfect hideaway where they can rest undisturbed. Abandoned manors and graveyards are also prime Brookxa territory. The Swamp Cemetery, for instance, is a setting where these creatures can seamlessly hide in the nocturnal landscape. The old manor offers just enough cover for Brookxa to lurk unseen, waiting to ambush those foolish enough to wander too close. Though they tend to avoid large population centers, they sometimes haunt the outskirts of human settlements, taking up residence in ruins or derelict buildings. They emerge under the cover of darkness, disguising themselves as late-night travelers hurrying through the woods. Brookxa are creatures of caution as much as ferocity. Their lairs are chosen not only for their dissolution, but also their strategic value. They avoid areas where they might be easily ambushed, favoring locations where they have an advantage. If you find yourself in a place where the chirping of birds or laughter of an unseen woman grows unnervingly diverse and frequent, beware. You've likely stumbled into Brookxa territory, and they're definitely watching you. What role do Brookxa play in Folklore and the Witcher series? The Brookxa of Portuguese folklore and their adaptations in the Witcher universe have more or less the same base, but the ideas are more different. In Portuguese folklore, Brookxa are sinister figures born from human transformation through witchcraft. No longer human, these creatures develop a ravenous craving for blood and prey on infants, young animals, and unwary travelers. In these tales, Brookxa are not merely bloodsuckers, but deeply tied to themes of witchcraft and transformation. Their portrayal blurs the line between witch and vampire, often emphasizing their dual nature as magical beings and unholy predators. Despite their predatory instincts, the folklore sometimes portrays them as tragic figures, cursed by their own dark ambition. In contrast, the Witcher series amplifies the Brookxa's supernatural traits, casting them as deadly, seductive creatures. Here, Brookxa are often mistaken for water nymphs or other enchanting beings due to their beauty. However, their long fangs and insatiable thirst for blood reveals their true nature. They haunt the night, drawn to handsome young men whom they seduce and drain of life. Their speed, agility, and piercing sonic screams make them terrifying, while their beauty and charm often spell doom for the unsuspecting. Two notable Brookxa in The Witcher stand out. Verena, a powerful Brookxa, develops a tragic romantic relationship with Nivellen, a cursed man. Despite her genuine love for him, her vampiric nature proves destructive, leading to a heartbreaking conclusion when Geralt is forced to end her life. Then there's the Queen of the Night, who runs the house of the Queen of the Night brothel in Vizima's trade quarter. The queen and her vampiric courtesans take money as well as blood as payment in exchange for their sexual services. How do you effectively combat Brookxa in the Witcher games? When dealing with the mysterious and dangerous Brookxa, the folklore and traditions of old have armed us with creative methods for protection, but modern fantasy has added its own insights. In the Witcher series, facing these creatures becomes a deadly game of strategy and skill. The supernatural abilities of Brookxa demand not only traditional tools, but also calculated methods of combat. In the world of The Witcher, defeating a Brookxa in Toussaint requires a keen understanding of their habits and vulnerabilities. The Ard sign, a magical force that can knock foes off balance, is a key weapon. When timed correctly, it can knock them off balance, leaving them vulnerable to single, decisive stabs, similar to how harpies are defeated. Moondust is another handy tool as it highlights their faint visibility during cloaked movements, offering an edge in tracking their position. Yrden, the magical trap, proves to be one of the most effective measures. By setting it in an open area, even at its basic level, it can uncloak a Brookxa and slow its movements. Once they're caught within its range, it's possible to follow up with an Ard sweep that can knock them back, giving enough time to deliver a fatal blow. This combination works effectively even against the notorious Brookxa of Corvo Blanco, a creature feared even on the hardest difficulty settings like Death March. Despite their remarkable abilities, Brookxa still share some traditional weaknesses. Garlic, while only a mild irritant to them, remains a symbolic barrier. They also find iron stools to be particularly repelling. Holy symbols, while not outright harmful, are regarded with a mix of disdain and curiosity. I guess more like interesting artifacts than threats. If you can't fight your enemy, confuse them, right? Well, to truly injure a Brookxa, weapons made of silver are essential. Fire and wooden stakes, provided the latter is long and sturdy enough, can also wound them significantly. Coating blades with vampire oil enhances their effectiveness. To prepare for a fight, swallowing a black blood potion ensures a deadly surprise for Brookxa attempting to feed. See, with the right tactics, even these vampires can be defeated. Marvelous verdict! From their roots in Portuguese folklore to their deadly grace in the Witcher series, Brookxa are all about beauty and menace. Even if they're busy seducing men, managing vampire brothels, or gliding through the night in search of a midnight snack, one thing is clear. These ladies are not to be trifled with. They've earned a special spot in my heart, that's for sure, but then again, I've always loved vampires. Anyways, if you hear wings flapping after dark or spot an impossibly gorgeous woman with a suspiciously sharp smile, trust us, it's probably not your lucky day, so just don't linger for too long, or at least carry a piece of garlic bread with you, okay? Honestly, we think Brookxa are the most fascinating fantasy femme fatale. Do you know any other chilling Brookxa stories from your culture? What would you do if you ever found yourself face to face with one? That's all we got for you this time, but if there's any other folklore you'd like us to cover from The Witcher or from more traditional sources, just let us know in the comments down below. We're always looking for new ideas for videos. Otherwise, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.